Now, 4 rappers dead in a little over 1 month. I don't even know what to say, man. I feel like we're going through a very dark period in the genre that is hip-hop. Seeing all these lives being lost left and right is very sad to see. What do you want me to say, man? Anyway, with that being said, let's talk about it. Now, like the title says, in the last month, 35 days to be specific, we've lost 4 different rappers. 2 out of those 4 we lost to gun violence, 1 of them we lost to knife crime, and the 4th and final one we lost to cancer. I don't know about you, but seeing all these deaths happening breaks my heart. One of the hardest things about being a hip-hop fan these days, I feel like, is having the constant fear of possibly losing your favorite rapper in the blink of an eye. One day you're casually bumping their music, you're pulling up to their IG lives, you're seeing them on TV performing their music, looking all happy, and then the next day, boom, out of nowhere, they're dead. Let's face it, gun violence is taking away all of our artists, man. The amount of violence we're seeing in the culture right now, it's out of control. We all know it's nothing new. I mean, this has been happening since the 90s. Even back then, we were rapidly losing some of the greatest and most intellectual minds to senseless violence. The shit that's going on in hip-hop right now is just a symptom of a deeper problem. A problem that can be solved with one conversation, but I think having this conversation is a step in the right direction. With that being said, let's start with the first rapper, which is the one you've been seeing on the screen. Young Dolph. Young Dolph, as most people already know at this point, was gunned down in his own city of Memphis on the 17th of November. He was at a cookie shop out in the city called Makita's Cookies to buy some cookies. As soon as he gets there, next thing you know, someone pull ups to the shop in their car and boom, they start firing shots. Young Dolph was unfortunately hit and he unfortunately died. I think the passing of Young Dolph hit so hard for a couple reasons. Number one, Dolph just had a very motivating and inspiring presence overall. He was a real go-getter, most definitely a boss. A lot of people look towards him as a source of inspiration, so to see him getting taken away in this kind of fashion, it's sad, it's heartbreaking, and it should have never happened. The second rapper we've lost in the last month is Slim 400. Slim 400 was a 33-year-old rapper out of Compton. Despite being in the industry for a couple years, he was still technically a rising rapper. Some people might recognize Slim 400 through his affiliation with YG. Him and YG were extremely close. Earlier this month on December 8, as officers were patrolling a neighborhood in LA, just before 8 p.m. on that very Wednesday, they heard gunshots in the area. The police then located where the gunshots came from and found a man on the ground suffering from gunshot wounds. That man was Slim 400, who was on the ground fighting for his life as a result of the gunshot wounds. Paramedics arrived at the scene. They took Slim 400 to the hospital where he was later unfortunately pronounced dead. A couple days later, after the slaying of Slim, some surveillance footage surfaced on the internet where you could see a man walking up to Slim's car as he's sitting inside of it. They quickly exchange a couple words. Slim quickly lunges at the guy as the man starts firing shots at him. Some of those shots unfortunately hit Slim, and as he's being dragged around by the man, the trigger man keeps on popping off shots. Definitely looked like it was targeted. I did see some reports saying wrong place, wrong time, which I don't believe at all. The main reason for me saying that, well, number one, Slim grew up in the streets, so the likelihood of this being some random attack is very low because of that. And plus, on that surveillance footage I was describing, the trigger man not only walked up to Slim's car before he shot him, but he also looked him dead in the eyes and went out of his way to exchange words with him before he shot him. That's a clear indication and sign that it was most likely personal. And the other thing is, this ain't the first time Slim's got shot at. In 2019, Slim 400 actually survived a shooting that he was the target of. The shooting took place in his own block while he was out there visiting family in Compton. Apparently he got ambushed, got hit 9 times, and luckily somehow still recovered from that. Now that was of course back in 2019, over 2 years ago. 2 years later in 2021, Slim 400 unfortunately got taken out, and that's where his story ends. The third rapper we've lost in the last month is Draco The Ruler. You might have heard or seen something about it. It literally happened the other day and a lot of people are talking about it right now. Draco The Ruler was a 28-year-old rapper out of Cali who had been in the industry doing his thing for a couple years. He was a very respected name in the LA rap scene. He got a lot of support from his community. The other day, on the 18th of December, the Once Upon a Time in LA festival kicked off and Draco The Ruler was a part of the lineup at the festival, and so was Snoop Dogg, 50 Cent, The Game, YG, Ice Cube. Around 8:40 p.m. on that Saturday evening, paramedics responded to a report of a stabbing that went down at the festival. At the time, the individual who was stabbed hadn't been identified, but word got around quickly that it was Draco The Ruler. The paramedics eventually arrived and performed CPR on Draco The Ruler. He was then transported to a hospital nearby while he was in critical condition. Fast forward a little bit of time later and the unfortunate news broke. Draco the Ruler was unfortunately pronounced dead at the hospital. So like we clarified, Draco got attacked at the festival, right? He obviously got stabbed and then died as a result of those injuries. Now here's the thing. I saw a video floating around social media of the incident itself. It was essentially a bunch of people backstage at the festival engaging in a physical altercation. There were so many people in this video, I honestly couldn't even spot Draco just due to the chaotic environment. But reports are saying that Draco was attacked, essentially ambushed, while he was backstage at the festival. I'm not sure if this was retaliation of some sort, maybe he has some kind of beef in the streets that caught up to him, or maybe the attackers were just looking for trouble. But here's the thing about this situation. In the video I was telling you about, it appears like Draco's team started running towards the exit of the festival. Can't tell if Draco had gotten stabbed at that point. I want to bring up something else to continue from here, and this directly comes from Draco the Ruler's mother. Now Draco the Ruler's mother said that Draco was rolling with a small group of people backstage at the festival when suddenly out of nowhere a gang of people, she said like 40 to 60 people, arrived at the same time as YG, and then suddenly Draco the Ruler and his guys got outnumbered and overpowered by the crew that was attacking them. That's obviously when shit hit the fan, right? A couple things I want to bring up here. First of all, this should have never happened. Let's just make that clear. This was a very preventable situation, let's just put it like that. And a lot of the blame should be directed towards the organizers of the festival, because how the hell did someone sneak that knife into the festival? Clearly, and I mean clearly, they were lacking on a security department. The fact that someone was able to sneak in a knife into the event and then stab Draco the Ruler with that same knife is crazy. And the second thing I want to bring up, Draco the Ruler unfortunately was way too exposed at this festival. The fact that whoever attacked him got so close to him to the point where they were able to stab him in the neck tells me everything I need to know. Here's the thing, man, if you're a rapper who raps about that street shit and you're performing at a festival, you need to be moving very cautiously. The atmosphere of these kinds of festivals is very relaxed. I've been to a couple myself, so I know that. So I get how one could get caught up in the moment. Since I don't know how Draco was moving at the festival, I can't really speak on that. Maybe him and his guys usually move very militant, and this time they just got caught up in the moment. All I'm saying is, if you're a guy like Draco who obviously grew up in the streets and you talk about that life and the music, at these kinds of events, festivals, shows, I really think getting in and successfully getting out should be the only focus. So never ever 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 should you be so exposed to the point where someone could physically harm you. So never ever should the safety of the main man be in jeopardy. Now a lot of things have to go wrong for that to happen. Like in this case, someone was able to sneak in a knife to the festival. That's strike number one, and that's the festival's fault. Whoever snuck in that knife has to also find the intended target, which in this case was Draco. That's strike number two. They also have to get close enough to Draco to the point where they could even harm him. That's strike number three. If it gets to that point, that just means that Draco was way too exposed. I'd hate to put this on his guys since they're grieving and mourning at the moment. That's not my intention, but all I'm saying is this could have been avoided. This should have not ended with Draco getting killed. I think this Draco the Ruler situation is sad as hell, man. Another rapper dead just like that. Boom, he's gone. Now the fourth and final rapper we've lost in the last month, which is Cango Kid. Cango Kid was a rapper who was big in the 80s. He was a part of a hip-hop collective called UTFO, which stands for Untouchable Force Organization. Back in February of this year, Cango Kid was diagnosed with stage 4 colon cancer. He was documenting his entire journey through social media, even went on the news talking about it. As the weeks and months kept on passing though, Cango Kid's health unfortunately started deteriorating, and the other day, at the age of 55, he lost his battle with cancer and passed away. I actually wasn't that in tune with Cango Kid's story. I did know about this record called Roxanne Roxanne that Cango Kid was a part of. It's a song that was really hot back in the day, specifically in the 80s. The record was by the collective that he was a part of, UTFO, so that was their big break back then. A lot of my old heads out there who've been listening to hip hop for a while, you guys might have known about Cango Kid. But yeah, I guess it's safe to say that it's been an unfortunate month for hip hop. RIP to Young Dolph, Slim 400, Draco the Ruler, and Cango Kid. The amount of artists we've lost, man, it's so sad. Truly is. 3 out of the 4 I spoke about, senseless violence, man. It ain't nothing new if you're a hip-hop fan though. We've gone through this a lot, man. The violence has taken away so many of our artists, and it's a very unfortunate thing to witness. With that being said, do you have any thoughts on this? Definitely let me know in the comment section below, and let's have a discussion about this.